What's up, guys? Welcome to this episode of Unemployable. Today was yet another wide-ranging discussion. We started off talking about a whole range of really interesting stuff from creating workflows for social media. We talked about a whole stack of really useful, interesting things that I think you'll get a lot out of. So get your pen and your paper ready. Stick with it to the end because it really gets strong in the last quarter, I think, of this particular pod. And we'll see you on the other side. Thanks for watching. Bye for now. What's up, everybody? Welcome to this episode of Unemployable. It is the Friday session. I am here with Eric, James, and of course, our good friend over there, Simon Cryer. What is up, Simon?
Morning, team. Super grateful this weekend. Looking at, last week's podcast on the Friday was awesome. This week's going to be amazing too, but last week's was great. Love some of the value bombs that you guys were dropping. Eric on the numbers of the business, Chris on his journey. Really good.
You can check it out, the channel, actually. It was a good pod. It was an unexpected one. I listened to it back afterwards. Very emotional there with Chris, but also some really good deep dives into what you could see, what he's going through personally as well, just for the sacrifice. Yeah. You know, as they say, you used to be able to just stop at zero, but then you sort of whiz way past zero these days, many entrepreneurs, in terms of fuel in the tank and so on. Yeah. James, how are you, mate?
Mate, talking about the fuel in the tank, I'm good now. Talking about the fuel in the tank, last week I shut the laptop for a few days and just took some time out. And sometimes you got to take a step back to take a run up, I think. So it was a long overdue week of just time to chill and actually caught up on a lot of sleep, which was good. So feeling refreshed and ready to rock and roll.
What does it look like for you? Like when you say just like recharge, does it mean sitting in bed and watching movies, or do you go for walks, or like what does unplugging look like?
It was sort of a forced unplug, really. I went to bed. I wasn't feeling crashed after the pod here last Tuesday, and I went home and then it was just exhausted. I had to go out for a business dinner. I had a guy over from New Zealand, and I was home by about 8:30. And I don't usually sleep that much. I'm usually up by 3:30, 4, whatever. And I woke up at 3:30 the next afternoon, got out of bed, had some food, had a shower, obviously, and then went back to bed and got out of bed on Thursday. So effectively went to bed on Tuesday and got up on Thursday. So it was a forced time out. And I watched a movie or two, and that was about it. But I was just cooked. So
the reason I asked that is because there's not a lot of dialogue on podcasts, or I think anywhere, about like what entrepreneurs really do. Like, we don't all do back-to-back ice baths and podcasts and then stacking our habits while we're in the sauna listening to Alex Hormozy. We do that a lot of the time, but there are days like on the weekend, it was a ripping weekend, right? And I went down the beach early on one of the days. I think it was the Friday, so I can't remember. But in the afternoon, I just felt tired. So I sat in bed and I watched a Netflix series like back-to-back on World War II. Yep. And I just watched like 3 hours, and I'm sitting there looking at my bedroom's got a door that goes out to the ocean, and I'm seeing the ocean, I'm seeing the people, and I'm like, enjoy. I'm sitting here in bed, the air conditioning on, I'm just going to work. And I didn't feel any guilt. Yeah. I just need to not be.
I was about to say that, and that was the thing I struggled with for about a day of it, going, what should I be doing? What should I be doing? I said, you know what? Fuck it. Just turn off the noise in your head and just give yourself permission just to do nothing.
Yep.
Absolutely dick all. I checked a couple of emails to make sure that the world's still spinning. And other than that, I was just like, nah, I was speaking to young Sam on the way up this morning, having a call, and I've never really taken or given priority to taking time out on a regular basis, and I think it's certainly going to be becoming part of the calendar every year, setting it out and going, take time out, even if they're micro breaks, just taking that time to yourself to properly unplug and just recharge the batteries. And more, when I say recharge the batteries, is let the head just have a rest. So usually I'm pretty active as well. Like I usually go to the gym 5-6 days a week and walk 5-6 days a week. Last week I just said, forget that gym pass. You can sit on the sideboard as well and just completely if you chill couch. Weekend was pretty low key as well. So I did like you did. I got deep in the weeds with the Mendes series, and I just thought, just fuck it, just forget what everyone else thinks. The fires will still be there.
You feel a certain level of guilt as an entrepreneur, right?
100%.
When you go, I'm watching Netflix for like 4 hours. Like entrepreneurs, you go, I'm such a fraud.
In the middle of the day. It's like in the middle of the day. I should be out at least if the sun's shining, enjoying them. It's like, no, I don't want it. The air conditioning's on, and I'm just shutting out the world.
Goggins and Huberman in the backyard.
And you can see me doing these ones. Yeah. Sometimes you just need a break. So anyway, just scheduling in, I think, more regular and intentional downtime.
I've got a very special relationship with my accountant. I've had the same accountant for 3 decades, and he's a very successful accountant, and he has a lot of very high net worth clients out of Melbourne. And I ask him regularly things like, what are people who are 5 billion, 10 billion, 20 million ahead of me in net worth doing?
I love that.
Or 5 times my net worth doing, and like, where are they putting their money and how are they living their life? Like, of all your clients, and you look at their life holistically, describe them to me. I ask these things. And one of the things he said at one point in one of my inquisitions about this, well, not inquisition, I would catch up with him, and what he said, that one of the keys is often regular small breaks. So whether it be just going to a local hotel in your city, just getting out of your house and going and getting 2 nights in a 5-star hotel in your city, or popping up to Hamilton Island for 2 nights, or anything. Just, I know you do it, Eric. I've seen you on Instagram. You'll rent a hotel, sometimes even just on the coast. It's really, really important just to break it.
And here's the key indicator about when you probably should take in that. It's like when you stare at your laptop, there's nothing coming in, nothing going out, and even type of crafting an email, it feels like climbing Everest. You go, this is fucked. Shut it.
Maybe a bit before then.
Yeah.
Maybe before you're standing on the ledge of the building.
Rocking back and forth, sucking your thumb. Just going.
I think Tim Ferriss talks about that in his 4-hour work week, having these 4 mini vacations. Like, it might be a long weekend. God knows, I don't know anyone who works 4 hours as an entrepreneur, but whatever. Let's just pretend that's a thing. Wouldn't that be great? Actually, that would be amazing. So I love that idea of just taking care of yourself, because I think it's really a real thing to just sacrifice your own self for the sake of your clients or your ambition or whatever it is.
And especially those, like, I guess there's 2 sides to that coin. When you don't have a family, it's just full throttle the whole time because you've got no other distractions. But then if you do have a family and you're doing that on top of a family, I mean, the compounding effect would be pretty tough, I can imagine.
Yeah. It's interesting, Chris was talking about his reason why on last Friday's pod, where he was talking about his mum, and it's just like, oh, beautiful. And I think there's a lot of entrepreneurs. I read a book, I can't even remember what it was called now, but it was talking about how most entrepreneurs are trying to prove themselves to their parents, whether they're alive or dead. It's like, I found that fascinating. Like, I was thinking about that just yesterday, and I thought, wow, I'm still trying to prove myself to my dad. Both my parents have passed, and I still want to be a great son, someone who he's proud of, but he's not even around anymore. And it's interesting. Do you feel that you're like that in some ways as well? Not really, or
no, not really.
What's your reason why?
That's a good one. I'll come back to it.
Let's welcome Eric to the podcast. Eric, how are you, mate?
I don't want to have a 90-second pause at the beginning of the pod.
Yeah.
I'm good. You know what? Like this weekend was amazing. We had friends come up from Sydney, and they rented a hotel in Broadbeach. They got a couple kids, and they get along real well. Quite similar ages with my kids. And we hung out with them, and we went to Oracle. They said at Oracle, so we hung out by the pool. Like it felt like we were on a little mini vacation. Then we grabbed dinner, and it was good. I was actually on my phone just then trying to look up a screenshot that I seen from Instagram, but I couldn't find it. And it was basically along the lines of, success. We look at success as material things, right? Like fancy cars and fancy clothes and fancy houses and this type of thing. But it was saying that real success is, having lazy mornings, hanging out with the family, being able to, be free and go for walks when you want, and these types of things.
Yeah.
And I resonate with that so much more now than even 10 years ago. And I used to have a friend that said, as you get older, different things become more important. And that, like, when you were saying how good is it just to hang out and, veg and watch Netflix and stuff, at the moment, I'm really enjoying some lazy mornings with the family, especially on the weekends. My eldest, she's into Kath and Kim at the moment. So Kath and Kim, and I've never really watched Kath and Kim. I've heard about, look at me, and all this kind of thing. And we've been just hanging out. Next thing you know, there's Eric, for an hour watching Kath and Kim with her. And
and the have to get her into summer high tie.
Yeah,
likes Kath and Kim.
Hell, maybe another 2 years' time. That one's pretty bad.
Yeah, she's still young. But yeah, like just it's interesting. As you get older, I feel that you appreciate those things so much more, and especially with kids now that you know, my eldest is 11, youngest is 8. They're growing up, and I can see the big change just from an 8-year-old to the 11-year-old. And I can see that in a few years' time, she's not going to want to be sitting there hanging out with dad watching a show. She's going to be wanting to be in her room alone, you know, talking with her friends and stuff like that. So I'm just
with her boyfriend, man.
Yeah, with her boyfriend.
You got it coming.
So I'm just embracing that at the moment and just trying to manage, the juggle of
and
family
and getting your firearms license at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just again trying to be a better husband, better father, better business person, and I tend to. I don't know how you are, Simon, with kids and family, but you put everybody else before yourself, right? Like it's all about them. But at the end of the day, we got to not forget to think about ourselves and reward ourselves. Like I love golfing, right? And I thought to myself, I actually calculated the last time I went golfing, it was over 12 months ago. I'm like, you're an idiot. Like, why aren't you golfing every second Friday? Just book it in your calendar. And I'm the same as Adam, the same as all of us. I feel guilty when I'm sitting there, you know, on a especially on a weekday, because I'm still programmed going Monday to Friday is proper 100% work days, and to go and take 4 or 5 hours out to enjoy yourself, I still feel guilty. Yeah, still something I'm dealing with.
I think it's really a really important discussion for entrepreneurs, especially today. I was having this chat with my wife, and we were talking about the massive inflation of information in the last 10 years. Like 10, 15 years ago, I maybe it's a little bit longer, but when we were coming up, if I was just saying to Cass, like if you wanted to listen to an audiobook, you had to go and buy a tape on Amazon, or they said you're off the tapes. Then you'd have to get the Walkman and put it in. And now it's like literally everything is immediate on your smartphone, and the quantity of information. And for entrepreneurs, you're already sucking in a lot of information from Hormozy or whoever you're following, and podcasts and everything. And then you've got this news cycle of the war that's going on at the moment, and you've got people who are up in arms who are on the Israeli side, and people who are on the the Palestinian side, and it escalates, and people have these extreme views, and you find yourself getting drawn in. And meanwhile, just above the edge of your phone is a beautiful Gold Coast day that you're missing. Yeah. It's so important, I think, to have boundaries around things. And one thing I listened to, just as a hot tip for people, I listened to a podcast from Chris Williamson that's just come out with a guy called Derek Sivers. Now, you may or may not know Derek Sivers, but Derek started CD Baby, and he sold it for like $20 million 20 years ago, US dollars. He now lives in Wellington. He's a Californian. He lives in Wellington, New Zealand. And he had a fascinating conversation. He's one of those guys that knows everybody in Silicon Valley. He's best friends with Tim Ferriss and Toby, who founded Shopify, and he's like a super connected guy. But he got his $20 million. He invested in the S&P and became a writer, and didn't go back to business, just completely changed his life. He's a minimalist. But he had this really fascinating discussion with Chris Williamson, just came out, Derek Sivers, Modern Wisdom podcast, talking about translating meaning and framing, and it really gives you a really useful way to filter information and make sure that you don't become polarized by the news cycle. Like, you don't become one of these people that becomes an extreme one way or the other, because you start to realize the older you get that the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. And we get so staunchly ingrained into that goddamn Jews or the goddamn Muslims and and we're like, we've been studying this for 5 minutes, right? Yeah. And we don't actually understand all the nuances and the thousands of years, and it sort of reframes your actual real position in the world on these things and brings to you a sense of calm and humility as you approach these topics, which I believe are ruining so many people's joy in life, because what happens is you start down a path and then you just get supportive information on that path, and it can really ruin your day. Last week I had dinner with friends up in the Ephraim Island, and we were talking, and they're on one side of that viewpoint, I'm on the other. I'm quite right, they're quite left, but we still had this really civil dinner and discussion, because we both had done some work on this reframing, and I sent her the podcast afterwards that I listened to, and it added value to both sides. So
That's so cool.
it's just really important to have a base framework that is sustainable and enables you to live sustainably in really polarized news cycles and a massive amount of information coming in. So if it's helpful, go look it up. But what else is happening, guys, in the world of business? Who wants to kick off with one of their talking points for this week?
Mate, I had a fairly challenging day on Thursday personally, and it was to do with business. For those of you who sit and watch this pod and watch the Golden Tonsils rip out just a down the barrel every minute that's faultless, and to Eric's credit as well, it's getting better at the speaking piece. I actually had to sit down and do like an interview style video for a business we're looking to put together, and the current business partner said, I'm not fucking doing it. And I said, I've never done it. So let's just, so off we went. We're with JD sitting at his property, and I did it like hours of work, putting scripting together and the right questions to ask and all this sort of shit. And I got there and fucking froze. And my mind just went completely blank. And then as you get rolling a little bit further, the more and I'm a bit of a perfectionist if I can't get it at the right time and in the right chronological order, the whole lot. So I've never sat in front of a camera. Like, this is different. But when you really want to get a message out and nail the points and the hot points and whatnot, my head went into a meltdown. Then the more I melted, the more frustrated I got. The more frustrated I got, I was like, fuck it, we're paying someone else to do it. And it's like, just had a proper threw the fucking toys out of the pram and went for a walk and composed myself. But it was the old. So it was very frustrating and fairly confronting from a personal level, because I'm my worst judge. And they said it was fine, we'll stitch it together. And I said, that poor editor's going to have to fucking beep out a lot of words. Well, it should have been like you would probably pull it off in one go, but you never compare your day one to someone else's 4,000th attempt at a video. But I tell you what, I'm certainly, that was probably my first and last crack at it.
But out of that, it's an interesting thing. I think 90% of the audience can relate to freezing when the little red light starts to flash on the camera.
And like JD's unbelievable. Let's still talk through the question and just riff it off and answer it. But the more I found myself fucking it up and then trying to redo it again over and over and over, I just saw red, and it's like, this is not my sport at all. But
did you think like getting the guy who brought Seinfeld to Australia and did Greater Union Banks might not have been the best?
Well, no, but anyway, he reckons he'll stitch it together quite well. But like, I walked away from that and thought, you know what? You can either walk away and go, well, that was my day one, and I'm actually going to sit there and go work out and try and conquer this thing, because it's such a skill. Such a powerful skill to have, is doing what you do, and Eric's obviously doing quite well at it as well. But sitting in front of a camera, the reason how I got there was we're sitting there talking about this product, and we're on a Zoom call. I just riffed it from start to finish how the sales process would work, and JD just went, "That is what we're going to put on camera." And I said we should just recorded that, because otherwise it's just fucking torture of doing it again. But so yeah, in a sales situation, I'd absolutely knock it out of the park. But to actually try and get it down in a format that was, worthy of an ad or worthy of a landing page video, it certainly stretched my
What's the psychology, Adam? You might know this. What's the psychology behind it, though? Like the difference of us riffing here, because we know we're on camera right now, but we're not looking down the barrel, right? As soon as I look down that barrel, I feel like there's 5 million people watching me, even though there isn't, right? There could be 5 people watching me. What's the psychology behind it? Why do we freeze? Like, what is it?
I think it goes back to some childhood shit that's probably above my pay grade, but where we're all like psychologically worried about making a mistake or being judged or whatever. Whereas here, it's a conversation. Like, we're just talking, and the cameras just happen to be here. But when you're looking down the barrel, it's like, oh, this is just me and somebody literally just watching me. And
even when you know the product back to front, which I do, as I said, I could riff it like with my eyes closed, like any other sales product that we're dealt with. But when it's just, you got to know the whole context of it's got to be perfect, it's got to be perfect, it's got to be perfect. Don't fuck it up, and like the monkeys were just going nuts and smashing. There's symbols everywhere, and it was the most. I wouldn't say horrific, because it's probably a bit of drama, but it was certainly confronting.
James,
hour and a half, and
I've been through it so many times. Where I've had people on camera with me that come into the studio through the years, and I've seen people just completely deconstruct.
Oh yeah, no, the head just melted. But we got there in the end. It was good.
Over the last year, you've watched myself and Eric launch Unemployable, which is this podcast that you see right here. Now, this has been a really interesting journey, and we're starting to really understand and quantify now the value of having a podcast, but it's not what you think it is. When we first started out, we thought, maybe we're going to get money from Google from a number of views that we'll get, or maybe we'll get sponsorship from people who want to, sponsor and get access to our audience. But it's none of that. What we've actually learned by doing this podcast now for a year is that the value of it is in the depth of relationship that you build with an audience. Now, the tendency is these days, particularly, that we look to these huge podcasts like the Patrick Bet-David show or to Joe Rogan or all these other things, and we go, oh my God, they've got like 6 million subscribers or 5 million subscribers. And here we are, nearly a year in, and we've got like 4,000 subscribers. And it's very easy to go, oh my God, this isn't working. This is a waste of time. But if you stop and think about it for a minute, if you walked into a room where there were 4,000 people in that room, for those of you who know me for a while, the last Reliable Education Summit I did had 2,400 people there at the Brisbane Convention Centre, and the atmosphere was electric. Well, now, after 9 months, 10 months of doing our podcast, we have almost double that as an audience every week that is subscribed. The videos are being viewed by way, way more than that. But there's basically an auditorium of 4,000 people there that come and watch our podcast for an hour to an hour and a half, twice a week. So in that time, you create a deep and abiding relationship with those people that generates trust and also transactions ultimately. And over the last year, while I've been doing this from my social media and from YouTube, Eric and I have managed to extract quite a lot of value from the podcast, but not directly. We've started businesses, we've done real estate transactions, we've done a whole bunch of stuff. We've grown our network enormously. In short, a podcast is a phenomenal asset if you're looking to build long-term value into your personal brand or into your business. With that all being said, if you are interested in starting a podcast, 2 ways you can do it. One, you can do like we did, and we spent $250,000 fitting out this incredible studio here in Southport and sort of taking the plunge. Or 2, you could come in and actually use this studio for a fraction of the cost of what it would cost to set up, because we are now opening up, the first time ever, 5 slots for businesses or personal brands, people or companies that want to create their own podcast. You're able to come in here, we can rebrand the screens to your branding. All this lighting can be changed in terms of color. It's all LED lit up. And we have a second pod set over to the side there if you don't want to use the concrete desk. If you want a one-on-one or one-on-two, more intimate environment, that's going to be available as well. Essentially, it's going to cost around a couple of $1,000s to come in for a full day with our staff to actually record your podcast. In a day, we reckon if you get organized, you could probably do 4 long-form podcasts, which would give you a podcast release every single week. And then you can cut that pod into short-form content to put across your socials and so on. So if that's of interest to you and you'd like to basically leverage the investment that we've made here up front, have access to world-class, state-of-the-art facility here in Southport on the Gold Coast, and start your own pod for a fraction of what it would cost to do it the way that we did it, then let us know. Just send an email to hello@unemployable.com.au. We're looking for 5 companies or brands that want to come in for 1 day a month using our infrastructure, using our team to produce their own podcast and go on this journey as well. All I can say is it's been a hugely rewarding journey. We're not even a year into it, and we are continuing to push this on into the future. So hello@unemployable.com.au if you'd like to talk to us more about doing it. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.
Patient and his perseverance and saying, no, we're nearly there. Keep going, like to happen to someone to pull you through. And to some people out there listening might go, God, you pussy, it's not that fucking hard. For the people who've never done it before and are fairly self-conscious and who have also been around people like we've been together for years, and to watch someone who's an absolute fucking perfection, class act at it, and then to sit there and as soon as it's, I guess it's a good gauge on how you deal with situations as well, and how emotionally mature you are in those situations. And clearly I was a fucking baby, but anyway,
you still stuck to it and got it done, right?
Yeah.
That's the key. You walked away and said, we're not doing this, we're going to pay someone else to do it, and that, but at least
but I certainly over the weekend looked at ways to regenerate my voice and do it with AI next time.
Well, I honestly think there's a real discussion there around like there are certain things in business that you have to make a judgment call on. Is it worth me investing the time into doing this, or do I put that in the category of things that is not my superpower, and bring somebody in who is in their zone of genius? There's a real, because a lot of times people feel they have to learn everything. Like there are certain things that that I know that are just red light activities for me. Like I might be really good at this, but there's certain things I'm really bad at or that I really don't enjoy. And so there is a lot to be said for knowing what you're not good at too, and what things you do want to lean into and what things you don't want to lean into. Like building social media accounts, for example, a personal brand. That is a real learning journey. Like it's taken me years to get okay at it, and I'm not great at it. And I persevered with it, but there are some things you've got to say, right, that's something I'm going to do and not going to do, because you only do so many things.
And who else can do the job? Who, not how? Yeah. As well, like who could probably pull this off? And I immediately thought of the guy that did dry flush automatically. It just doesn't turn out. We'll just grab him, pay the money, get it done. Because it just certainly wasn't worth my bandwidth to, as I said, I thought, maybe there's a speaking course out there, and had a little dalliance with the idea of that, perhaps I do need to be better on camera. And I thought, what for? If I can find someone else to do it, and I can go and focus on other green light activities. I thought, fuck it, I'm just not going to do it, and I'm just going to get it out of my head. But we all went out for lunch after that, and the girl I'm seeing at the moment, yes, there is one, and she sat there and she walked in, she goes, what happened to you? Like you are just, you just feel the energy. And I said, margarita, 3, now.
You're kind of like you're vibing at the best of times, so I can absolutely imagine it.
Yeah. And I did have all 3 margaritas at the same time, so I could attest to that. So.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Anyway,
I hope they do a bloopers reel. That would be awesome.
Oh, mate, the whole thing was a blooper. But I said to JD, I said, good luck sending that to your editors, because I think that'll be the last time they do any work for you. That's some pretty colourful language on there.
What the fuck have you sent me? How am I supposed to make this look good?
Anyway, well, so you're not alone, James. It's a common thing that we all have these things in our business.
Yeah.
All right, who else has got something I want to riff on this morning?
Yeah, I was similar situation to James, except I was really awesome at getting some content down. I had, but it was intense, right? We had a 7 o'clock start with the shoot at 7. We went until about 12:30 in the afternoon, and it was just staring down the barrel of the camera. We want content like crazy. We want to create 90 days worth of content in this short time. And there was like 10-minute sections that we were going to cut up into the other things, because we really want to lean into the content piece, right? Before we start giving advice around it, we want to prove it out for ourselves before we release it to the marketplace, or pretend that we've got some sort of service offering if we can't prove it. So yeah, that was intense, man. It was just like, talk about this topic now. It's just like, wow, okay, bam, deliver. No scripting, no nothing, but just topics that they gave me, and it was really tricky. The best part was the reaction reels, because they're saying, these are trending really hard right now. And some of them were awesome, because all the time when I'm in my business, I have to be the nice guy. But gee, they gave me some real garbage things to react to. Like people go, I'm a Harvard business grad and I have a $100 million business. And she's recording this on a $2 Temu microphone that sounds worse than the microphone on her phone. And now I've never heard an entrepreneur who flexes on being a Harvard graduate or talks about a $100 million business in the same intro. It's just like, and the content was just rubbish. There was nothing there. And it was just like, gave me permission to be authentic and say, as soon as I paused it at the start, because they said, we don't want you to see it. We want you to just react to it live. So watch the video recording. I paused it after she said, I'm a $100 million business Harvard graduate, and this is what you need to know about email marketing. It's like, I already don't like this lady right off the bat. So it was good to be able to just be real and just say, hey, I don't like that. I think this is garbage. And I never ever do that in my life anywhere. I'm always like a people pleaser. I never talk about bad news. I'm trying to always be optimistic and speak well of people. But yeah, it was kind of refreshing and I really enjoyed that. So we did a bunch of content. We've got, I'm moving my office to be upstairs from Early Bird AI. We're collaborating on a number of clients from a lead generation point of view. So lots of really exciting things happening in our world. And busy. I'm looking at personal development as well. Like last week's podcast, just looking at some things we can leave aside which are important. I'm looking at optimizing the physicals to make sure that I have more energy for my wife, my family, my kids, my clients as well, so I can serve them at a higher level. And also for myself, I really want to be the best version of myself now that I'm in my 50s, with almost everyone here, it's kind of cool. And I'm like, hey, I want these years to be the best I've ever had. So I want to be fully optimized. So
let's put a pin in that piece for a sec, because I want to just dive into a little bit about what you said about workflow.
Yeah.
So we'll come back to the health piece, but I think what you raised there is there was a few things that were in that riff. One was that you said you really wanted to create content, because for those who don't know, Simon has a company called Automate Convert. So they basically it's an agency to help businesses grow. They do PPC, ad management, a bunch of other stuff, but also sales copy and all that. So before offering these services of content creation, which you were saying you're going to offer as a service, you thought it would be best to actually create some content at scale.
Yeah.
And so that's refreshing.
Yeah.
Because a lot of fucking coaches out there are like, I'm going to be a content creation expert, and they've never actually created content at scale.
Yeah.
And so what you find out with all of this stuff, and I'm always harping on about it, whether you're trying to create content or whether you're trying to learn AI, it's in the actual doing that you actually discover workflows that work or don't work.
Yeah.
And so I've been making an effort to really level up my social media in the last couple of months. And it's only by doing some courses and actually getting I've got a little formula now. So I have notes, the Notes app on my phone, and I when I get a real idea, which could be, I'm always listening to podcasts. So I'm listening and I'm thinking and I'm learning, and I'll go, oh, that's actually a good reel. And I'll pop that in, or I'll observe something in the world and I'll pop that in my reel in the notes, or I'll be talking to Eric, or I'll be talking to you guys, and I'll go, oh, that's actually a good reel idea. And then, so I capture the ideas, and then I have CapCut to edit the videos. And because I figured out it has to be easy to be done from anywhere in order for it to be suitable for me, right? I have to be able to do the whole thing on my phone, because these days I try not to sit in front of a computer very much. So I've got CapCut and I've got Canva, the mobile app on my phone. I've got 2 templates to create the covers. CapCut, and I've got a process now. I can make a really compelling reel. Some of them have done tens of thousands of plays. I can do them in 20 to 30 minutes, from shooting it to editing it to pushing it onto Instagram.
Yeah.
And I commit to doing one a day. But this thing of getting into a workflow for an area of mastery is really important. If you decide something is really important for your business, guys, what I try to do is make it an area of focus for 90 days. So Patrick Bet-David talks about this. Don't just read any books that come along. Don't just randomly listen to pods. Break your year into quarters. This first quarter, I want to learn to be much better at creating content. That's going to be my area of focus. I'm going to listen to pods and YouTube videos and master that. And then the next quarter is negotiation or banking or whatever. And for the next 90 days, I'm going to look at our banking relationship and see how much better it could be. So for everybody listening out there, this is really important to really start to think about, what are things I want to master? Property, investing, I'm interested in Bitcoin, or whatever it is that you're interested in. Go deep for a quarter and really get into a workflow. So once you find a scalable workflow, it's really, really powerful powerful thing to have. And learn. And for a lot of people, it's learning to learn. I did a video, one of them was on Google LM Notebook, where you can upload a PDF document, hit a button and turn it into a podcast.
Yeah.
And the number of people go, where do I go for it again? I'm like, I literally said Google LM Notebook in the comments. Well, what's the link? I'm like, you, my friend, need to learn to learn.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't find the link. I said, go to YouTube and type in how to use Google LM Notebook.
Yeah.
But people are so turned off in their head unless it's texted to them as a link. So anyway, point being, be an intentional learner, and work on those weak points.
I actually played with Canva properly for the first time this weekend, just prepping for a coaching call last night. And it wasn't anything fancy, but it's just, again, that's what I was doing, right? YouTubing, how do you do this? And then it's like, oh shit, I did something wrong. How do I do that? And it's basic. Every question can be answered on YouTube or ChatGPT, Google. It's all there, rather than going to someone and looking like an idiot and going, hey, how do I do this? It's like, man, don't waste my time, right? Have you Googled it yet, or have you YouTubed it? And it's amazing because some of these platforms like Canva, even though it was very, very surface level, are so easy to use. Man, honestly, I cannot believe how easy Canva is to use for a first time, for a person that hasn't used it, and for a person that's not really creative. I've never used Photoshop in the past, or InDesign, or any of these types of programs, but I've seen people use InDesign, and it looks like you need to be a rocket scientist, to be honest with you.
All right.
Canva is unbelievable. Like you sat down with me last week and said, hey, because I'm now learning to build content creation and really get my face out there, which, you know, is uncomfortable, but at the same time, like you'll look back at it and go, wow, that was shit, but look where it is a year on, just like your video. Wow, the first one's gonna be the worst one. And you move forward. And yeah, it's amazing all the tools that are there, like what you showed me with Canva and going Canva. He literally just went, okay, this is how I do it. He goes, Canva.
I said
CapCut. All right, in, out, black, white, here, boom, captions, bang.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man,
we were having fun.
right? What's taking you half an hour is going to take me 2 hours. But again, he's been doing it for a little while, and then it'll tighten up.
The difference here for all the entrepreneurs listening to this, there are those who listen to this and just go, oh, that's really interesting. And there are others who are going to go to their calendar right now and time block 2 hours this week to learn Canva, 2 hours next week to learn Canva, and 2 hours the week after. And they'll do 6 hours of Canva training. And at the end of this month, they're going to be pretty good at Canva. Like we've got a training day, not this weekend, but next. And the workbook is amazing. We're taking 60 of our clients on 2 big buses around southeast corner here, Gold Coast, Brisbane, showing them real estate developments. And the workbook looks legitimately amazing.
Yeah, that did look great.
It's all on Canva, and I even printed it on Canva, and I made a reel out of how to print from Canva.
Yeah.
So I actually schedule in my time. Patrick Bet-David says, if you want me to predict how successful somebody's going to be, give me their calendar. That's the logbook of success. So if you don't have time blocked in your calendar to learn CapCut, we've told you CapCut a bunch of times now. If you don't know what it is, or don't know how to use it, you can't edit videos on your phone that are going to get, like I said to Eric, by context, right? We audited all of the views that we've had on this podcast over a year. I've had that amount of views on my mobile phone from CapCut videos on my Instagram account in the last 30 days. I'll say that again. By using my mobile phone and CapCut, I've had the same amount of views off that content in the last 30 days that I've had from making this podcast for a year on YouTube.
Yeah, wow.
Makes you think, right? Like when you look at the investment that's been put in here, right? Not only the time investment that we've all been putting in, but the monetary investment to create a studio, have full-time
and the guest
team members, the guests that we've had through, quality people. And it's so funny because the guests that I thought would absolutely kill it, right, when it comes to views, have done totally opposite. And it's nothing to do with their, nothing against them and their successes, but it's people want different types of content. But we wouldn't know that until you look at the data. And now that I'm getting my head in the data and getting into, Brevo as an example, which is our email marketing platform, and getting in there and going see the click-through rates and all different types of data, it's so interesting to see what's connecting with people and what's clicking and what's not. And some of it is total opposite than what I would have thought. Like, give you an example. I'm not sure if we mentioned this or not before on the last podcast, or if it was just us in conversation. But the top 3 podcasts we've had have all been women in the podcasts.
Wow.
Right? From the amount of views to the number of subscribers that we've gotten, even though only a third of our viewers are women. So you start looking at that, but you use that data to then make better educated decisions moving forward. Because what I can see from the data is it's not about the person that's got the 100 million, the 200 million, the $500 million business that people are really interested in listening to. Right? It's the people that have more authentic, genuine struggles, that are closer and connect with people on a deeper level. Because the reality is, majority of people will never have a $500 million business. Majority of people will never have a $10 million business. I forget what the stats are, but it's absolutely ridiculous how many people can actually get to, a $10 million business. It's tiny. So yeah, it's interesting. Okay. Sometimes when we're in this world and you're schmoozing and mixing with people that have sold businesses like Rick Richardson and these types of things, you tend to think more people are like that, but majority of people definitely aren't.
That's so unrelatable. That's why.
Yeah, you look at
to the specific circumstance.
Yeah, like the lady we had on with ADHD who built a medical clinic. as one of the most highest views that we've had because it's so relatable to people.
How many views did you get on that?
I think it's about 80,000. So
Wow, that's a lot.
But just to put this in context, while Eric was talking, when we talk about skills to learn, people go, why am I focusing on learning that content? Even though it doesn't come natural to me, it's a bit like James with his being in front of a camera, learning reels. And I hate the incentive system in Instagram where, it's all about getting attention quickly and keeping it.
Yeah.
So why am I spending this time to learn it at 50 years old? In the last 30 days, I've had 700,000 views for free of my content on Instagram, which is 8 million a year. So my face is being in front of 8 million people annually versus people who are not doing it at zero.
Yeah.
There's a big difference in opportunity flow to somebody who's being seen 8 million times a year versus, and that's just Instagram. That's not the pod. And there's another 1.5 million views on the pod in the last 9 months. It's a different type of view too. It's a long form view on the YouTube. So it's really deep. But if you're interested in opportunity flow, or you're launching a product, like we sold, I think $2,000 or $3,000 worth of baseball caps on the first few hours that we released them last Thursday, just on my Instagram. We needed 7 desks filled at Early Bird. We said, we're going to invite 7 entrepreneurs to come in and co-work with us. They were gone in 3 hours from one Instagram post. When we need to hire people, we get them from social media. We don't use LinkedIn or where people falling over themselves to come and work in the environment because we're publishing and I'm getting 700,000 views every 30 days on my Instagram, and it's costing me zero other than about 30 minutes a day now because I've done the deep work on trying to master. And some of the clips are super simple. Like I'm like, hey guys, here's a really cool feature of Canva that I didn't know you could do. Check this out.
Yeah.
And then I just film the screen going, here's this document I've been making. And then look at this, boom, I've scanned across. There's the physical document that I printed by pushing that button on Canva. And people go, oh my God, that's amazing. And then they share it to their friends. I put up one video, which was me showing what Early Bird had done with my toilets business, and that's up to, I think it's 250,000 plays with like 5,000 shares of people promoting my content for free. Yeah. And it took 30 minutes to make the video. So if you can get a video under 250,000 people for 30 minutes of effort, it's worth focusing on that.
But again, once you look at the data, right, and you're going to go, okay, out of the last 50 videos that I've done, these top 3 just went bananas. Why? And then you'll target more of those types of videos. Then you get more views, you get more conversion, you get more subscribers, and
is it correlating pretty evenly with have you seen a spike in followers now because of this?
Yes,
it's like a significant spike.
As soon as I start putting in the effort, and like we've had in the last week, like right now, the reason Chris is not here on this pod this morning is he's meeting with a very large, well-known Australian brand. I won't say who, but it's a very, very large, well-known Australian brand. This week, he's also got a meeting with Porsche, right, at Early Bird AI, right? How did they come about? Through content. Because there's people that work there that watch the content that say to their boss, you got to go talk to Adam and the guys at Early Bird or whatever. Those meetings come from content because we're not running ads for it. So where else did it come?
You guys have really challenged my thinking about content as well. Because as a digital marketing agency, we're all about paid, right? But when I approached you, Adam, you said, hey, why don't you just come on the pod and we'll do a pod and we'll interview you as a guest. I had like 30,000 views on it. That would more than fill Seabus Stadium, the football stadium. And it's just like, that's a lot of eyeballs. And
hey guys, I hope you're enjoying the pod. I wanted to share a really interesting stat with you. In our e-commerce business where we sell electric toilets, we noticed that nearly half of our online visitors visit our website and do their research outside of normal business hours. Now, when you think about spending thousands of dollars a month on traffic, it is pretty important that you can service your customers when they're on their website. And that's why we used Early Bird AI. That's EARLI rather than Y, earlybird.ai. The team there helped us implement AI-powered web forms, which when somebody has a question about anything to do with our product, our website actually texts them immediately and engages with them in a discussion to assist them with whatever they want to know and is trained to move them towards purchase. We've also installed a talking website, or it's about to go live, where you can literally push a button on the website
and it connects with an AI-powered voice that sounds like a natural Aussie-speaking person, and you can literally just talk to the screen and have the AI engage with them, answer all their questions, and again, direct them towards a sale. If you would like to learn other ways, including those, to grow your business through very smart AI, go and talk to the people at earlybird.ai. You can get a free audit of your business. It's not just for online businesses. We're working with plumbers, medical centers, all kinds of businesses over there. Go to earlybird.ai. I can't recommend them highly enough. With that said, enjoy the rest of the pod.
We got a bunch of appointments out of that, like probably at least 20, 30 appointments, and converted into some really awesome clients from just that piece. It's just like, hang on, maybe I need to lean into that data a bit more.
It's nuanced because it changes a lot of things. Like I did a transaction that Eric knows about a few weeks ago, which I'll go through in detail. We don't have the time right now, but there was a real estate transaction where I was moving one tenant out of a property I own and a new one in, and it was a big lease. I mean, this is a 7-figure lease that they're signing on for over the term. It's a 7-figure transaction, and the tenant that was leaving my building was in a really old under market lease, and I was letting that tenant out to bring a new tenant in at today's price. And it's a really risky thing to do because, the tenant leaving could, falter when I've got the new one in, and then I'm left with no tenant if I sign that document to let him out and all this stuff. But in the end, it resulted in about $1 million gain in the value of the property by that transaction. How did that transaction happen? Through the podcast.
Yeah.
And why would it stick like glue? Because all parties knew me, and it wasn't like I was going through a broker and there's this invisible property owner. They knew me and I knew them. It just greased the wheels of transaction, and trust was there because they know Adam's not going to fuck us over because I know him. And it's true. I wouldn't fuck any of those parties over, but it just makes things so much easier when there's trust and deep relationship that's developed through creating content.
And it's such a different type of content, right? Like you look at the podcast, like you said, it's long form, takes more time, more effort. Like when you look at the figures, you're going like, I might as well just keep doing this and do a podcast as an example. But there's so much content that we could be getting from the podcast as well, right? And these are the strategies that we're talking about now. When I go on a Rift and go bang, 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 that's content that can then be cut up and distributed as an example, right? But what I'm finding, because I find it even very interesting with the stuff you're putting out, is just those small learnings, those kind of like wow, or those aha moments going, whether it's Canva or the Google LM, was it?
LLM. Google LM.
Yeah, Google LM, those types of things, because you think a lot of people know about it, but they don't. Like a lot of people know about Canva, but I didn't know that Canva, you can just press a button and it prints it and it's in your house 2 days. It's at your house 2 days later. Yeah. Like you don't have to go to Office Work. What we used to do is take the file, go to Office Works, print it out, bind it yourself. Like it's or snap. Like
they tell you
that's finished.
Their content's snackable though. They can learn something in 30, 40 seconds.
Yeah.
And because attention these days is so like, if someone's going to take 10 minutes to explain something, I'll come back to that. I'll park it now. And that's the whole.
This is the thing, James, that I was the last man on the deal team about. You got to be very careful where you get your information, because I was like, I'm going to start this podcast here, and it's going to be great because we're going to sit down and riff for an hour, and then the editors are just going to cut up shitloads of content, and we're going to be growing 1 million followers. No, those days are gone. You can't just, and those content shops that tell you to do that, just sit in our podcast studio and we'll slice it up. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why it's bullshit, because the metric that I'm optimizing for is shares and follows. And if you go into the Instagram professional dashboard, it will tell me instantly how many shares that piece of content had and how many new follows that piece of content got me. So I'm now optimizing for shares and follows. So the only question is what I'm about to put on Instagram something that somebody's going to see and go, holy shit, that's really cool. In the same way we share a funny joke or we share a meme, and he keeps sending me P. Diddy memes. And we get I get lots of Family Guy and all this. But if it's not that kind of content in the business format, what's super small that's really useful to my audience? And if you just think about that, let's just to get what you want, help enough other people get what they want, as Figl used to say, that's it. Nothing new under the sun here. Just how's
the reality is content is king, right? Like I was listening to a podcast with Heroi. It was just a small 24-minute, one of those educational ones that needs to be now. And he was talking about, his type of content, right? There's education, edutainment, and entertainment. And he's going through and he was explaining in 40 months how many, so let's call it 4 years for even numbers, right? 4 years of going so from starting his journey in the content creation space and what he's done and how many subscribers that he's grown from on Instagram and LinkedIn and YouTube and the rest of it. And he was breaking it down. And one key thing he said was, because everyone knows in business now, if you're an entrepreneur, Alex Hermosi, right? He's probably one of the most popular educators in the world at the moment. So, why? And he was breaking down his content, and he goes, in those 40 months, right? And I've just calculated out to 4 years. He's made 35,000 pieces of content. And he's like, you've heard that right, 35,000. And that's average. I just did the calculation of 24 pieces of content every day. Right? Yes, he's intelligent. Yes, he's a smart guy. But anyone that's putting out that kind of content every day is going to get the attention. Like 24, imagine you're putting out how many pieces of content a day, maybe at the moment, roughly, give or take?
I do maybe 10 to 15.
10 to 15, right?
I think relevant content needs to be put in there as well, because he had a pod on it before, because he was all over the place, relationship, except whatever. And it was only about 4 months ago he went back to, I'm just sticking hardcore to business. Yeah. Business only, because that's his channel.
And he mentioned that he was looking through the data going, educate, edutainment, entertainment, and he's made the decision to just go straight education, no entertainment and education, right? And zero entertainment, because he says the people that I want to target are the hardcore business entrepreneurs that all they want is education. They don't want jokes. They don't want entertainment. People that go for entertainment, that's an easy fix, right? And there's a lot of people doing entertainment out there, and it's easier to get the subscribers and the attention. But for what he wants, and obviously he's building out businesses, right? So he wants flow. He wants guys like James that want straight education, that is going to start a business, grow a business, then go, hey, Alex, do you want to be my business partner? That's what he wants. And he's narrowed that right down. Yeah. And, that's something with...
That's very important.
Yeah, very intentional.
So the frustrating thing about the platforms is that they incentivize certain things. Like, I'll put up politics and I get massive clicks and engagement like you wouldn't believe, but from who? Right. Yeah. And then when I put a business content, those people who are fucking left-wing nut jobs or right-wing nut jobs come in and comment on my business stuff, and they go, hang on, I followed you because of that Albo post. I thought you hated Israelis or Jews or whatever. Yeah, right. They're completely not my audience. So you got to be very careful about the alignment of incentives and stick to your knitting. Yeah. But Alex has done well because I think of a few things. A, he works like an absolute beast. He's building it on a foundation of actually owning real businesses and not bullshit. So his content's actually real. Yeah. And he's making stuff that's super shareable. And he's really mastered the art of making it snackable. And he got that background in communication so that there's no fluff there.
Yeah. He's a great writer, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a great writer.
And he's all in with the content. Like, he invested $4 million into content in the last 12 months. Yeah. So it's like, I think that's a clue in terms of how significant
he unpacks his workflow too, which is like it all starts with X. So that's it all. He has it sounds like a lot when you say 30, 40 pieces of content a day, but he riffs his content ideas on X, sees what gets traction, and then he creates the downflows from that.
Based on the data.
But it's a whole area of study. But I still believe that if you truly are obsessed with creating shareable content that comes from obsession over learning how to actually do something useful and not just, something that's not really that useful or shareable. People might watch it and people, you got to be very careful about experts say, oh, this is trending or that is trending. You're like, yes, but what's the end result of the trend? Like, where is this thing going?
Is anyone going to buy something from me anytime soon?
How does it serve my mission? And it's so very important and that's why I'm now coming back to things that small business people who are trying to get ahead can actually implement and share with their network of mates who are they go to barbecues with and they're attracting their tribe. You can go, fuck, this Adam guy just keeps turning out really good little useful nuggets of practical implementations of AI or how to actually use Canva or how to use CapCut or things that are real data from my actual Instagram. So the more useful, the more relevant, the more snackable, and that's when you're actually going to grow, because it can feel like you're not getting any traction. Because I've seen agencies here on the Gold Coast say, oh, get a podcast, pay us the money for the podcast, we'll chop it up. And I'm like, bro, that is not going to work. And my worst performing pieces of content are cuts from this pod.
Yeah, right.
It's not shareable unless it's controversial, or unless it's some really, because the problem is this is long form. Trying to get some long form content into a 60-second shareable clip is a fucking art form. Very hard to do. It's much easier to create it purposefully for that shareable bite.
You're one of the crossover between the eyeballs that watch this long form content and do watch the snackable stuff as well. Are they the same eyeball, or they're very different audience altogether as well? So before you sort of, not saying you are, throw the baby out the bathwater, saying podcasts don't work. And so the content of the podcast doesn't work for that eyeball.
Yes. For growing your social media, it doesn't. But for growing a different kind of audience, it absolutely does.
And I think it's, as well, people are used to seeing other people behind a microphone on a podcast set talking about a topic. I seen an ad the other day, which I thought was phenomenal. And there's this cologne. It's called... I forget what it's called. It's a French cologne, Bouton Rouge, or one of these, right? And it's like $500 for a bottle, very expensive. So this other company called ALT Fragrances that basically take the smell, kind of rip it off a little bit, and you can buy 3 for $199. Yeah. I clicked on the ad, and I'm just getting smashed now. And basically, it's a guy mid to late 20s, and someone's filming him, and he's out like on the streets of like London, after, it looks like it's 2 a.m, after the club, girls are half pissed, and he's going up to them going, hey ladies, what do you think about this smell? Right? And they go and they smell them, and they're like, oh my God, I just want to rip your clothes off. like this type of thing, right? And if I was a 25-year-old single dude and I'm watching these ads, I'm like, click, right, cart. But the way they've done the ads, and it's so real, it's so raw. The guy's just wearing a hat. The girls are literally look like they're just scraggling, outside of a nightclub, but they work. Yeah. That captures my attention. If that guy's sitting on a podcast going, man, you have no idea this business I have. It's a fragrance. It's unbelievable. Yep. It's, half the price. You're going to have to buy, like, scroll, like, no interest,
Again, so not demonstrable either. No. I've seen all those ads. They're just this problem. Oh, you'd suck.
Yeah. You watch them. Yeah, like, that's absolutely. The thing. You
smell good, James.
Come over here, big boy. Wow.
Now we know why you got that new girlfriend.
The diddler. Come and diddle me this.
But that's another area, right? That's a whole nother area. That kind of content, really studying it and understanding. Like, High Smile didn't become High Smile by accident. There's a science to what they do. And it's deceptive because it looks like just a dude on the street. But when you actually deconstruct and become obsessed with that content, you realize, oh my God, this is a whole area.
I showed my friend on the weekend. She's got a new business that she's launching. She's a makeup artist, and she was here from Sydney, and she's launching an eyelash business. She already has it, but she's going full-blown Shopify and everything. And I'm like, she's showing, in a lot of the photos, she's showing the eyelashes, right, in the actual box. And I'm like, you have to show the eyelash before, like split the face in two.
Yeah.
Right? Before, no eyelash, you look like shit. After, wow, you look amazing. As an example.
Correct.
Like that is what you need to show, not the, just eyelashes sitting there in a box. And then I showed her, I'm like, look at High Smile, right? And then I go to that V34 on the website, and literally on the website, they've got a guy, right, with his mouth open, with not amazing teeth, not that I have perfect teeth, but with this nasty little mustache, hair's kind of everywhere. He almost had, I think he might have had a snot in his nose. That's how real and authentic this. And she's like, oh my God, but that's converting. It wouldn't have it on their website as the main image if that thing is not converting. Guys are seeing that and buying it because, he might look like that, but so are the other, 10,000 guys that are buying it, to get their teeth whitened, as an example. Like, it's just
Simon's in the business of buying and managing ad traffic, right? No matter how good Simon is, creative makes the difference.
Yeah.
And if you've got a client that's obsessed with creative, they're going to kill every other client you've got who's like, Simon, can you make the content for us? Right. And like, you can do a job in the content, but it's never going to be as good as somebody whose sole obsession is their product.
Yeah. To what Eric was saying just a little while ago, I just think that's so important. We have someone who's relatable. And I think that's really the key to successful ad campaigns, is making them look like they're not ads. Like, get rid of your logo. Like, I have clients that say, oh, we want to put our branding everywhere. It's just like, honestly, you don't. You want to make your ads about your audience and not about you, not about your brand.
Yeah.
And if something looks more organic, like we'll search for not days, but hours just to find the right image. And the image, if we're looking at a static image for our creative, is something that doesn't look like a stock image. That's the key, finding something that doesn't look stock, that looks like an ordinary person, because people are looking for themselves in an ad. It's like an old, I don't know, like an old class photo of when you're back in primary school. First person you're looking for in that old class photo is you. You're looking for your mug in there. So that's what people are looking for, whether they buy off the TV, I don't know that that happens much anymore, or if they're buying on the internet, they're looking for themselves, that relatable piece. It's like, is the subject matter them? Is it their age? Is the copy resonating with their needs and stuff like that? Is the image, them with maybe crooked teeth or maybe a weird wispy moustache or something like that? If that's your target market, mate, you drill into that, make it look as authentic as you can, because people aren't going to social media, for example, to buy. They're looking to look at, pictures of cats or connect with their family. So if you make the image look like it belongs there, make it look organic, it's going to convert so much better for you. Yeah. Absolutely. I think that's why that it's weird. Like, you can even see it in some of my wife shows me websites of people who are selling bikinis and stuff like that. And it's just like, man, some of the models are inclusive now. And it's just like, I can't believe that sells. Like, there's lumpy, bumpy people in there that are photogenically challenged, let's say. Yeah. And like, they look like me. Ordinary, right? But that's converting because people relate to it.
Well, you look at LSKD as an example. They've done an amazing job in the athletic wear space, because if you go onto any athletic wear, whether it's Gymshark or any other type of gym wear, everyone's ripped, lean, or they're bodybuilders as an example. And if they're women, they're like bodies 10 out of 10. Well, they took it a little bit different. And if you go into their store in Pacific Fair and you look up at the photos that they have of the people wearing their gear, it's nothing like that. And they're about, real people, 1% better every day, and they are absolutely killing it in such a saturated market. And I think a lot of it to do is they're really targeting the everyday person.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think the first time that I start off at a gym, I buy all the gear. I buy the shoes, the socks, the workout shirts, the shorts, because I'm day one. I'm not the end product.
Yeah.
So for me as a buyer, not that I'm necessarily the target market, but I'm wanting to get geared up first.
Yeah.
And then I'll go to the gym maybe.
Yeah.
But first I'm going to get the gear. Do you know what I mean?
It's like golfing. You might not be the best golfer, but let me tell you, you look like Tiger Woods when you're out there.
I always smile when I go for my walk with Cass and I see these guys that are like 55, not in shape, wearing the Tour de France outfit. And I'm like, bro, I don't think the margin is that tight. At the Lycra, everything's going to make a difference.
Wearing the Gold Coast half marathon shirt they wore 12 years ago.
Wow, but I love it. I love seeing it out there. It's not to tease them, because I love the fact that they're out there being fit and having a crack, And here's me not on a bike at all, so I can't say shit.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you again for the pod. James, anything you want to add? No, you're good.
I was just waiting for you to say you're going to start cycling, so you'd a bit of a fucking little cap on back the front. The side, I don't know.
That is content that would convert 100%.
I don't know what it would convert though, but I have a fair idea actually.
Guys, thanks again for another good week. Appreciate it. For everybody out there listening, takeaways from today: if there's a skill you want to master, don't just sit there and think about it. Go to your calendar right now and time block at least an hour a week to learn something new and say, I'm going to learn Canva, I'm going to learn CapCut, I'm going to learn how to create compelling in the wild content like what Eric, who do I study to learn that sort of high converting organic traffic type ads. But go to your calendar, because if you don't put it in your calendar, you won't make the time. And when the time's not there, you don't do the work. At the end of the day, your life won't change. What life will change from doing the actual work. With that said, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you on the next pod. Bye for now.
Hey there, I hope you enjoyed that episode of Unemployable. If you'd like to watch another episode, just click there.